worked in Star Trek. Our technological consultant, George, can you check, are we on?
One moment, Gerald. I will, no worries.
So, shall I say something to see if it's coming through? Okay. Colleagues, my apologies.
There you go, it works.
Lovely, thank you. And George, thanks for alerting us to that. Colleagues, I'm not going to get us to go around and introduce ourselves all over again. But Ian, I think if you can start the presentation on the Hampshire Minerals and Waste Plan from scratch, that would be helpful so that people know where we are.
Thank you, Leader. I'm Ian Maguire, Assistant Director of Planning and Economic Growth, presenting the report from officers who have been working with Hampshire County Council, who lead in partnership to produce the Minerals and Waste Plan for the whole of Hampshire. The recommendation before you today has been produced by groups of officers both here and at the Hampshire County Council with Southampton City Council as well. A draft update to the plan is provided in the appendix to the report. It's been updated with the change in circumstances, so a new call for sites, new forecasts and data for aggregate need and waste requirements, etc., and changes to national policy frameworks and guidance from government to reflect the change since the previous Minerals and Waste Plan. Which was October 2013, for those that are not familiar with it. The report details the principal changes to the plan in this new version and seeks authority from Cabinet to authorise Hampshire County Council on our behalf to carry out a Regulation 18 consultation on the plan, which will be an 8-week consultation starting in early November. Obviously that would then inform the drafting up of the final submission version of the plan, which will in due course come back to officers and members for final approval. The recommendations are that the updated report of the draft plan is noted and agreed, and Hampshire County Council is authorised to undertake that consultation with officers' delegated authority for any minor textual amendments needed. Happy to take any questions, of course.
Thank you very much indeed, Ian. This is an important plan because even though we're an urban authority and we haven't got big mineral deposits being dug up in our areas or landfill sites, we do have aggregate coming into both Langston Harbour and into Portsmouth Harbour for offloading, and also we have to get rid of our rubbish. My understanding is we're one of the councils with the very lowest amount of our rubbish going to landfill at 4%. Which is very good, but we are also working on trying to establish and build an anaerobic digester to be able to take all the food waste that we're collecting and from other councils as well, so that we can turn it into compost, but also to take the methane off it and push that back into the gas mains so that it doesn't go into the atmosphere. Colleagues, any questions or comments on the Minerals and Waste Plan, or are we happy to send it on? Okay, everybody happy? Thanks very much indeed. Thank you very much, Ian. Item 6, appointment of LGBTQ plus young people's member champion. So a group of young people have met to choose who that is. Susie Horton, would you like to update us?
Thank you, Leader. Yes, I am delighted to announce that I am the LGBTQ champion. Thanks for teeing that up nicely. And I just want to take this opportunity to say a few things, if I may. I am delighted to be here. I was a little bit surprised, to be honest. There were a few people put their names forward, and I'm grateful for them to do that. And I'd particularly like to thank Councillor Lewis Gosling for contributing to the hustings. In actual fact, I had COVID at the time, but I couldn't bear that I actually wouldn't attend the hustings, so we did it digitally. And it turned out that I was the sole person getting grilled, which was a really good experience for me so that I absolutely understood that the issues that these young people want their champion to represent them on. But just a little bit of background about this. This idea came from a notice of motion where we talked about sex and relationships education across the city, and that it was about future-proofing our schools from any potential challenge around some of the tricky issues within that, the controversial issues within that. So that was where the idea came from, and actually the first LGBTQ champion was Councillor Claire Udy, and she did an amazing job at this in championing these young people, and despite COVID, doing some really creative campaigning ideas and also getting that voice out there. So what can a kind of straight old woman like me be? Well, I can be an ally, and that was the focus of what I said at my hustings. And the way I portrayed it is I've spent my entire life being committed to fighting inequalities and challenging things so that people have the freedom to be who they are. And so that hasn't changed. Maybe the focus of what I've directed that has changed, and that was my pledge to them. Since then, I've already had a meeting with some of the officers who lead on this work, and we've got some things planned. Obviously, I will visit the 3 groups that we fund and proudly fund in this council, the For You, For Me and For Us groups. And I'm going to attend a team meeting so that we can get a plan of action. One of the things that we wanted to do was to get into schools to be able to support them in this work. And there's some very interesting research projects that our officers from the council are involved with, and I'd like to become involved in that as well. The other thing is around member training and trying to get more of our elected members behind this as a united front. We've got some training teed up with Stonewall, and I will try and promote that. And the final thing I want to say is we've just had the Member of Youth Parliament team in talking to the Cabinet about what is important to them and how their voice can be heard. And although that group is separate to some of the LGBTQ groups, they're saying the same thing. But more importantly, one of the biggest things that they want to focus on is around trans inclusion work within schools, but also mental health for young people. And we know that those things sometimes overlap. So it's very timely that this has come here. Unfortunately, they couldn't stay because they had to get back to school and college, which I absolutely approve of. No, they're not. It's half term. But they couldn't stay today, but they've got some really good ideas about moving this forward. So I'm looking forward to working with them, those young people, but also this particular group of people, and I will be the best champion I can.
Thanks. I know there were 2 other councillors. There was Lewis Gosling and George Fielding, and Lewis was able to make the hustings, was he?
Fortunately, no one was able to make the hustings. I did it online, but Lewis sent in a statement which was read out, but obviously couldn't be quizzed on that. So thanks to him for that.
That's great, thank you. All right, guys, thank you. And James, I'm sure you will note Susie is there for that. And as this is an annual thing, we'll need to try to make sure that we move it forward efficiently next cycle. Okay, item 7, defibrillators in Portsmouth. Claire, David, welcome. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Leader. So this report's being made in response to the resolution at full council on 15th of March this year, and we're making 3 recommendations: to update the PCC web page and continue to keep it updated, to bring in a proposed corporate policy which will review existing provision and coordinate a systematic approach going forward, and to confirm funding for installation via Wardsill and maintenance via service budgets going forward. The background of the paper includes information concerning external bodies relevant, such as the British Heart Foundation Circuit website, where defibrillators can be registered to enable national tracking for placement and maintenance, and the South Central Ambulance Service Save a Life app, which means anyone with a mobile device can download this free app to find out where the nearest defibrillator is. This app is fed by information contained on the circuit. The corporate procedure provides for all defibrillators to be registered on the circuit where these are initiated by the council. The current listing has been cross-referenced with current data from South Central Ambulance to bring it up to date, and we now have a list of 92 defibrillators in the city. This list will be put on the public-facing webpage for the benefit of those without a mobile device. The corporate procedure provides that this list, publicly hosted, will be kept up to date via the Health and Safety Department via their defibrillator dedicated inbox. All 92 defibrillators have been plotted on a newly designed GIS system. This system can be made available to all officers and all members on request, and it's easy to use. And Jane, can you just press the button, as it were? That would be great. Thank you, Jane. So the system contains a number of interactive map layers, which will allow service departments and wards to spot areas of low density and identify appropriate future sites. So on the system, the green crosses, my mouse is working, yeah. The green crosses designate publicly accessible defibrillators, and they can be selected so you can see what address they're at. And similarly, the green triangles are defibrillators in buildings. All 92 are plotted, although you'll see there's quite a concentration here, so you can zoom in and then click again and find out where they are. And then if we just come out again, we've got a buffer zone that has been recommended that all defibrillators should be within 800 metres of each other as a maximum distance. You can see most of the city's covered. There are some gaps to the buffer zone up north, so again, in terms of future planning, service departments could see what assets they've got. So if we go into that area, and then we can turn on the council asset register, and then service departments can make plans in accordance with the maps. If we just turn that off and zoom out again, oops, bear with me. We've also got all the ward designations, so members can get up-to-date information, turn that one off, as to what defibrillators are in their wards. And lastly, we've also got if I turn that off, we've also got main shopping centres mapped on here, main leisure areas, and industrial centres, which again could give helpful intelligence to future mapping. So the corporate procedure outlined in Appendix 3 means that the Health and Safety Department is cited throughout the process, and they will be responsible to keep central records on defibrillators for the Council, and we've liaised with them in preparing this report. The process also cites a finance manager and relevant director at an early stage. Once a ward seal process has been followed, the procedure provides for liaison with housing for expertise in making a purchase, and then the allocation of a guardian, which means that the defibrillator will be registered on the circuit and the circuit kept updated and the defibrillator maintained. The guardian is responsible to liaise with the health and safety team throughout to keep all the information with the corporate web team and GIS team updated so that we always have current information. In the report, we recommend that ward councillors, where working directly with community associations rather than a council department, would also identify a community guardian for any installation of defibrillators that they may make. We've set out the current installation costs in the report to cover the defibrillator model, an external heater cabinet for an external defibrillator installation costs. And we propose that these are met via ward SIL, and the draft SIL note is appended to the report. Meeting the installation costs via ward SIL has been a successful approach to defibrillator installation to date, and we propose that the maintenance costs are borne by existing service budgets. And the last thing I just wanted to say was to take the opportunity to thank other colleagues in the council. Dave and I have worked with Meredith Hughes in housing and Malcolm Norman in GIS, who have been really important to helping us with all the mapping and things. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Claire. I've got Matthew and Steve.
Thank you, Gerald, and thank you so much for this report. Just like to put on record my thanks for all the work that's been done putting this together as a result of that of the motions council. And I think it's just sensible for us to have this systematic plan going forwards for defibrillators. Obviously, making sure that it's public accessible where they are, so people can use them when they need to. That you can have the understanding of where there are those gaps, and though we have the 800 metres, I know that some of that can be slightly misleading due to the because that's a standard that's been put forward, I think nationally as well in terms of the space. But we know that it also gives us those sort of more gaps on the map where we can look to do that. But I think for ward council's point of view, it absolutely makes sense for us to be able to know where our gaps are and where we can have those conversations, because we're making still decisions to say, actually, yeah, that's an area we need one. But also for people who say, well, what about having a defibrillator here? And you say, well, actually, there's one a couple of streets away that you might not have known about before then, including those ones that are in buildings as well, that are obviously available to people to use when they need to. So I completely back this report. It's a sensible way forward, and it will just make what we need to keep people safe in terms of if they need defibrillators better in the future.
Thanks so much, Steve.
Yeah, just to partly echo what Matthew just said, I know a huge amount of work has gone into this by Claire, and historically David's support were working with all those different community groups across the city, getting defibrillators installed, procuring them, etc. So I know that his involvement goes way back on this, and it's something he's always been passionate about. And Claire's mapping exercise that she's worked through here, really valuable resource now, does exactly what full council was suggesting via that notice of motion. As Matt said, there's no point continually adding more and more defibrillators into areas of saturation. We need to make sure they're properly distributed across the city so that they are literally within a couple of minutes of a quick jog up the road from wherever the incident has occurred, and that's vital. I think what we do need to think about is publicising this and the existence of it, because being able to share it and the resource that's within it with community groups to inform them, because there would be nothing more depressing than a community group has sat there and thought they were doing a great thing raising money to buy a defibrillator, and they come to us and say, it's great, we've raised this money, and we say there's one 30 yards away around the corner because they just didn't know. It would, you know, we need to make sure that we are working with the community and keeping them informed. But it's a fantastic piece of work, and if only everything the council did was that coordinated, it would be amazing.
Thank you very much indeed. Anybody else? No, thanks very much indeed. Colleagues, you happy with the report? Thank you very much indeed. Sarah, over to you and fostering.
I'm
Jackie.
I'm Jackie Clark, Service Leader for Fostering, and I'm going to give a summary of the activity conducted by the Fostering Service as it sits within Children and Family Service. The Fostering Service is responsible for the recruitment, assessment and support of all Portsmouth's foster carers. It also provides a service to supporting special guardians. It also oversees the assessments and support of private foster carers. The Fostering Service comprises those three teams. The key points that need to be noted for today is the recruitment of foster carers this year. Sadly, we are down on our recruitment. We recruited a total of 11 foster carers, which is a significant reduction from the previous year where we approved 29. This is in line with the national shortage of foster carers. We have a very robust marketing strategy, which we're already implementing. We work with our marketing officers. We do face-to-face events. For example, we've done Victorious Festival this year. We've had an event at Fratton Park last week, and we've done the Spinnaker Centre. From that, we will receive inquiries. So last year we received 216 inquiries from members of the public wishing to become foster carers, and from there we then took on 26 fostering applications, and as of last year 11 of those went through to be approved, and the remainder are in assessment and are followed on to continue to be approved this year. Whilst we always look at mainstream foster carers, any child coming into care, we always work very closely with the family members, and we will identify family members who can look after those children. From that, those family members can come on to be approved as connected carers as well. Last year we approved 23 family members to look after those children, and those children, for those children that's really important. Those carers get the same support as any other foster carer. So they have a comprehensive learning opportunities through our training programme. We offer support groups, we offer peer mentoring, And Portsmouth is quite unique in this area because we offer our own foster carer out-of-hours support service as well. The vast majority of foster carers who come to Portsmouth, we may be a relatively small fostering agency compared to our neighbours, but the feedback that we have from our foster carers is that we are small and mighty. By that I mean foster carers will recommend each other, and last year of those 11 fostering families that were approved, 4 of them transferred from other agencies, which is a real plus for us. In terms of I just need to catch my thread. So whilst we approved those 11 carers, we also approved 23 family and friends carers, and of those carers, they were able to progress to special guardianship as well. That means the child leaves care and the family member gains some legal responsibility. So we will promote special guardianship with our family and friends carers as appropriate. In terms of our foster care recruitment, one of Portsmouth's unique selling points across the South Coast is we've developed a new model in line with the National Fostering Network. We've introduced a new model of care called the Mockingbird model of care. This has been very, very successful. We started off in 2021 launching one set of carers for Mockingbird. In February 2023 we will be up to 5 Mockingbird constellations. The Mockingbird model of care is based on the principle of extended family, and it takes a village to raise a child. By that I mean we identify one lead foster carer who has significant experience of working with children and working with the rest of the service, and they will lead and support and develop those relationships with up to 10 other fostering families. That promotes support within the fostering service, but specifically it enables the children in care to form relationships with their carers, but also with each other. The national outcomes for Mockingbird are showing to be very positive for children in terms of outcomes in terms of relationships, education, returning to family, and there are other positives as well. From the Mockingbird model of care, we are able to take some of those practice and share them with the rest of our fostering families. So, as of the end of March 2022, we had 220 fostering households. 40 of those are part of Mockingbird, 23 of those are part of family and friends, and the others offer other types of care. They may offer respite, short-term, long-term care. Families approved for up to 4 children could offer all types of care. And that's decided through working with the supervising social worker and with the family placements team. In terms of foster care retention, you will see in the table, there is a table that goes back 5 years for Portsmouth Fostering, and we have consistently maintained 200 plus fostering households. Within that, you will also see that the number of children we have in our care at any one time has fluctuated over those past 5 years. Nonetheless, the vast majority of children in Portsmouth care are placed and looked after by our own fostering households, which is a real strength for Portsmouth. In terms of those that we lose, those foster carers that we lose, we tend to lose them through because they retire. One of the significant standouts for Portsmouth is that once Portsmouth foster carers come to us, they will stay. Only 2 weeks ago, I was celebrating somebody who had been foster care for Portsmouth for 30 years. sadly was going on to retire, but nonetheless will come back and support us in other ways. So in terms of our foster carers, we retain 200 plus every year. We lose the vast majority because it's for natural reasons, retirement, health problems, change in circumstances as well. Only last year did we lose 2 fostering families due to concerns regarding their standards of care. We have a very robust safeguarding process in terms of assessing and the ongoing assessment of our foster carers. Each foster carer has to have an annual review where their suitability to foster is assessed. And as I say, only 2 last year had those approvals that went to panel, and the recommendation was deregistration. So the highlights for Portsmouth are we retain the foster carers that we have. The vast majority of children in our care go with Portsmouth fostering families. We are working hard to enable our foster carers also to look after those children beyond the age of 18 by increasing our staying put offer to our fostering families. So this year we have seen an increase up to 27 children who were able to stay put with those foster carers. That is great news for those children and those young people. What it means for us is we absolutely need to strengthen our front door in terms of new foster carers coming forward too.
Jackie, thanks very much indeed. That was very helpful. Susie.
Hi, thank you, Jackie. Jackie's covered probably most of the points that I was going to raise, but I just want to say a couple of things. And Lida, you're often saying this, that there's nothing more important than this role that we do in the council. And I've always made it my business to try and attend as many of the events as possible to actually engage with the foster carers, because to deal with the situation that we've got at the moment about what is it that makes people become foster carers and how can we make more people become foster carers. They are amazing. Every single time I go there, I just think these families are incredible. These people are incredible. They're providing a really life-changing opportunity to these young people. Just this week at the one at Fratton Park, I talked to a family, and they had their own child there, and the own child was enthusing about the relationships that she'd made with these children who've lived with her during her life. But also one of them's turning 18, and so in reference to the staying put stuff, the family's saying, we're not going to let him go. He's ours now. And that whole sense of that actually there's not that cliff edge at the end of that time. So we know that demand is up, and we know that numbers are down. We know this is a national crisis. I think it's good to highlight the positive things about Portsmouth, as Jackie has done. The support is great. I went to an event last year where someone had come from somewhere else to Portsmouth because of that support, and that's a shout out to the virtual school, health partners, as well as other foster carers. Mockingbird's has been highlighted, but it is important because I think anyone who's thinking about becoming a foster carer, to know that you'd be part of a constellation of other people, so that you were part of a family already, I think, from what I speak to people, is a great comfort. I suppose the question is, for me, is what else can we do to increase the numbers? I mean, do we do enough around, for example, I think we do, but is the message getting out there about you don't have to be a nuclear family with a big house and a black and white kind of hallway, a checkered hallway, that we need foster carers of great diversity because the needs are diverse? Do people know that you can apply for funds, for example, to adapt your home to create another room? We've got to look at these ideas, because I think we need to see, how do we plant the seed in the right person's mind that this is something that they could do, and then take them along a journey. I know we've got some really good marketing and comms coming up. I was speaking to one of the officers the other day. There's some videos, the stories of people behind it. But I guess it's our responsibility, it's a corporate responsibility, to try and get the best foster carers for the children in our care. Thank you.
Thanks, Susie. Matthew?
Thank you for this report, and thank you, Susie, for what you just said. As a son of former foster carers, I know what an amazing job that foster carers do, and I completely support what Susie said about that person who is a child of foster carers themselves. It's such a I consider it a massive privilege to have been a foster brother to numerous children over the 30 years that 30 plus years that my parents fostered, and it is really a valuable thing that for the children of the foster carers as well, and I think that's something that we should always celebrate and always show as a real positive. But obviously it's for the children that are fostered where they're changing those lives, and so a massive thank you to all the foster carers in the city, and a thank you for the team that supports them, to Jackie and her team, because that's the reason why you retain the foster carers. That's the reason why they keep caring for the children in the city that need the most support. If you didn't have that support, they wouldn't stay. So thank you so much for all of your work, and whatever we can do, I think, as that corporate priority, to support and extend those numbers of carers, I think we absolutely, as an administration, completely back and support. So thank you so much.
Okay, colleagues. Okay, colleagues, happy to accept the report and note our thanks to everybody involved. Thank you very much indeed. That concludes this meeting, formal meeting of the Cabinet. But can I ask Cabinet members to remain behind? We have two more quick items that we need to go through. But thank you very much, everybody.